There's a phrase that he taught me. It's called adapt and overcome. Nothing in the military is fluid and neither is the working world. So real estate, especially, obviously throws you a lot of curveballs. Finances don't work out right or something just doesn't go wrong. The client gets angry and you're the one that has to diffuse the situation. So it's really been a matter of, when those situations happen, keeping myself first and foremost regulated in a manner of like, okay, let me look at this from a professional standpoint. Don't take it personal. Be able to analyze and come up with a response on how to move forward. Sometimes it's as simple as handling a client's fear. Sometimes it's handling a closing situation where there wasn't a paperwork handed in properly or something wrong with the lender. It's a constant adapting and overcoming each situation and being able to creatively figure out how to keep moving it forward.
Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope with Neil Oates Jr., the podcast that takes you on an extraordinary journey into the world of luxury service. Join us as we unlock the secrets, stories, and strategies behind exceptional experiences. From anticipating VIP needs to crafting unforgettable memories, we'll guide you on a path to service excellence in the realm of the affluent. Let's elevate your expertise and redefine the art of world-renowned service. Here's your host, Neil Oates Jr.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My guest today is Erika Collins from Sales State Powerhouse Real Estate Group in Miami, Florida. She is a real estate professional with a refined global perspective and a deep appreciation for the strategy, service, and sophistication required to operate in one of the world's most dynamic markets. With a background in international real estate and a focus on investment-minded opportunities, she brings a polished and insightful approach to serving clients at a very high level. Erika, it is a pleasure to have you here with us. Welcome Beyond the Velvet Rope. How are you doing today?
I'm fabulous. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate you having me.
Man, I am excited about this opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with one of my favorite people. And that is not just in the industry, but one of my favorite people. So, Erika, here's what I want to do first. We're going beyond the velvet rope today. So that means we're going to give some insider access to our audience. I read some things about you professionally, but what's something that I did not say about Miss Erika Collins that you might want to share with our audience today, ma'am?
All right. Well, I am a military spouse married to a former Marine. Hoorah. I'm a pit bull mom. I have 3 daughters. My youngest is in college. And for recreational, I absolutely love paddleboarding, scuba diving, and doing MMA at the gym.
Okay, so right there, you gave us a lot that I did not give. So first, thank you for your service. And when I say thank you for your service, we know that when you are the spouse of a military individual or a family member of anyone who served or even first responders, that a piece of your heart is always with them. So thank you for your service. Thank your husband for his service. So I just want to go off script here because I did share some questions with you, but we might get to none of those today. And I know you're excited about that. But being a military spouse, what has or how has being a military spouse impacted your business and maybe the way you think or how you plan or how you interact with your potential clients, customers, or prospects?
I would say that just being married to him in general, he's created a sharper level for me. I used to be really like mellow and I like to say kind of like my hippie happy. And I would be really easily offended by things. And so he's really brought me up to a level of like, all right, now I know how to be a lot sharper. I can take a lot more like hits and be able to give it back, not in a bad way, but in a professional way, tactful. So it's made me better in business in general, just for being able to handle the capacity of, there's a lot of military, especially I used to work in manufacturing, and I would always be like, how do I handle this? Like, this guy's like this. And he was like, oh yeah, you just do this, or that's normal. So he really has helped grow me in my capacity to be able to handle a little bit more chaos that I wasn't used to.
Okay, so first of all, I love that because you just mentioned this word chaos. I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that you're operating in what could be a chaotic few niches. So one, international real estate, then you're on the investment side. So if depending on how the world and the country goes, maybe numbers get kind of funky, maybe your clients start feeling and looking at things differently. I would like to go there for a moment. Talk about that where now you being able to have the capacity to handle
Mhm.
complex transactions, maybe the numbers not working, and you're having to say, well, it's not an emotional thing, it's a process, it's a system, it's a numbers thing. So, how does that ability play into how you handle these interactions with potential global customers or those high level investors that you're working with on a regular?
Yeah, so there's a phrase that he taught me. It's called adapt and overcome. Nothing in the military is fluid, and neither is the working world. So, real estate, especially, obviously throws you a lot of curveballs. Finances don't work out right, or something just doesn't go wrong. The client gets angry, and you're the one that has to diffuse the situation. So, it's really been a matter of, when those situations happen, keeping myself first and foremost regulated in a manner of like, okay, let me look at this from a professional standpoint. Don't take it personal. Be able to analyze and come up with a response on how to move forward. Sometimes it's as simple as handling a client's fear. Sometimes it's handling a closing situation where there wasn't a paperwork handed in properly or something wrong with the lender. It's a constant adapting and overcoming each situation and being able to creatively figure out how to keep moving it forward.
Okay, so Erica, now we're talking about the military spouse side of things. You mentioned something when I asked, well, what else do we want to know about you? What should we know? You just slid in at the very end an MMA, right? You just sort of casually threw that out there. You're not going to get that by me. So now we're talking about adapting and overcoming there. But
Yes.
what about you training MMA has helped you in this thing that we call life in general?
Yeah, easy. So that one for me the most, I think the biggest lesson I took away from that has been to be able to go into a sparring match with someone and you walk out friends. So much of life we see the fights happen and then the blow up and then you walk away and you hate each other forever. Where there, you have to go in, you shake hands, you get into your sparring match and then you get up and you shake hands and you walk away friends. And so that for me was excellent and helped me realize that even in conflict, it's okay to come out with respect for the other person. And that's really what MMA is about. It's about learning to respect the fight of the other person, the power of the other person, and who they bring to the table when they're there with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Miss Erika Collins. And so I hear you say that. And for you, you're like, oh, well, that's an easy answer, right? So the answer is easy. What now, has it been easier? Was it easy for you to adopt that or to become aware of the mutual respect, even in what we're going to call combat?
I would say prior to, I was more of what I described in the beginning, where it's like, okay, you have a fight. And it's just like, oh, I can't deal with this anymore. And it's really developed me and matured me to be able to be like, okay, so you're still a human. You're still a God created being. Like, I have to respect you. And it's really scaled me back from taking things personally to putting more of a professional mindset to everything I do, really.
Okay. Now, Erica, I mentioned it, but it's something that we probably glossed over. So when we said that you specialize in international real estate, that does not mean that you just say, oh, I'm here in the Miami area. I have conversations. You actually took your commitment to this industry another level. And why don't you just share with us what that level is when I'm talking about specializing in international real estate? Because this is something for me who specializes in international real estate, I still have not accomplished the level at which you find yourself. And what is that?
All right. So I have always had a heart for philanthropy, and that led me into my bachelor's degree, which was international business. And during that process, I discovered how real estate can help with philanthropy by enhancing local economies and helping people have jobs. And so it spurred me to get my master's at FIU for international real estate. And so I'm able to understand how to market differently in different areas. And becoming a realtor, of course, it was just a natural extension to add that certification on there. I didn't really feel like I had to have it because of my degree experience, but just in the professional certification world, I felt like it would be that extra good stamp to have on my resume so that when I'm talking to other people, they realize like, okay, if you're talking real estate, oh, SIPs, that's great. Okay, I understand that. And then in the business world to understand, oh, masters in international. Okay, that's pretty great.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to remind you all that we're speaking to Miss Collins, who has a master's in international real estate. Not anything to be taken lightly. Many times, Erica, I'm always on your case about not sharing that accomplishment enough. So I want to make sure that we highlighted that here. I do want to
Mhm,
ask you, because we're probably going to have some audience members who are watching or listening to this episode, and they're saying,
mhm.
okay, military spouse, MMA, she's just a bad woman, right? She just has it put together. She's gone from bachelor's, she's gotten a master's, and she's just kicking butt. What I want to know is, was there a defining moment that changed the direction of your life or career as we look at you and going beyond the velvet rope?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as the saying says, you become like who you hang around. I really had to leave
Hold
a
on, stop right there. Hold on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where Erica is going with this. And if you heard that and you immediately kind of like shrieked a little bit and you start like, oh my gosh, if you clutched your pearls and started looking around, just be careful, because Erica's probably about to drop some knowledge on us right now. Okay, so birds of a feather, go ahead and give it to me, ma'am.
Yeah, so I had to leave a long-term toxic relationship, and that was really my pivot point. It expanded my understanding of who I wanted to be, who I needed to be, and the wholeness that I needed to develop into. And so once I figured out who I was as a human, God brought me another fabulous husband into my life, and that was really a pivotal, I would say, 5 to 10 years that completely transformed my life. And I'm definitely not the same person I am that I was 20 years ago. You wouldn't even recognize me, I'm sure. And so because of that, I was able to go on and get my master's and do all the things that I've been looking forward to doing. It's like who you hang around is who you become. And so be with those that want to spur you forward, propel you forward, and don't hold your freedom back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go on the record as saying, even though I have not met her husband, we have a bromance going on. So, Mr.
Yes, you do.
Jason Collins, Jay Collins. And so, when you say that, that means a lot to hear you say, because even with the virtual relationship that Jay and I have, I see the positive impact that he's having on me. So, I can only imagine being in the atmosphere, in the environment of someone like that. And so thank you. And I'm going to tell you again, thank you for sharing your husband with us, right? So not only defending our freedoms, but then also being someone who is giving the goodness more than just outside of the walls of your home. And so that's always encouraging. So now we've talked about the MMA world, being a military spouse. I know that you're a high achiever when it comes to real estate, international real estate investment opportunities. So that leads to what could be a dirty, heavy word called leadership.
Mhm.
Okay. And so whether you choose to be a leader or not, Erica, your success, your personality, your track record just puts you in this position of leadership. I want to know something. Anytime I get to have a conversation with the leader, what's a pressure that comes with leadership that some people from the outside looking in that we might not realize is on your shoulder or your back, ma'am?
Yeah, so for me, I would say growing up, I always was told to live by that motto of treat others as you want to be treated. And so as a leader, I still keep that in mind. And I would say sometimes that's my biggest challenge is when you have challenging employees or challenging situations, is to always remember that at the end of the day, that person needs to be treated respectfully and carefully because they're a human being with feelings. How you treat them is the product that you're going to get back out of them. And so, studying a lot of emotional intelligence, Brene Brown is a favorite of mine because she has great psychology, strategy. Yeah, I would say that would be one of my biggest challenges. I mean, not a challenge, but it's a conscious effort that I'm constantly making. And because of that standard of mine, it also requires me to always make sure like I'm going back to my peace, my wholeness, like get myself centered so that I'm energetically bringing a good quality of myself to those that are around me.
Okay, so I want to go. You mentioned that standard, right? So, what's the one standard that is non negotiable for you? Is there one that when you look around for yourself as a woman, wife, mom, business owner, entrepreneur, and from those that you're doing business with, is there's a standard that's non negotiable? You said that, hey, if you break this one, if I break this one, it ceases to exist.
Yeah. I love authenticity. Authenticity in
We
others.
hear it. We hear that all the time, but I don't even think we know what authenticity is. Go ahead, Erica. Come on.
Yeah. So authenticity to me just means being able to be vulnerable with the people around you, having an intimacy that's just, this is who I am, and being okay with sharing that part of your life. When that's there, I feel like there's a greater sense of ability to trust people. Whereas when people are closed off and just lacking integrity, I can't work with that. That's really my biggest, like, non-negotiable. Like, I'm going to give you who I am and bring it back, or there's like an unequal match there.
Okay, so now you talk about giving us who you are. There is a bit of you that I don't want, Erica. You mentioned scuba diving, you're snorkeling, you're paddleboarding, all of this stuff that scares. I'm not going to scare. It makes me aware. It makes me cautious.
Uh-huh.
Let's go there for a moment because that is, you mentioned the happy hippie or the
Yeah.
something. Would you share with the audience that part of you? Because you're great at what you do professionally, but I like and love the woman that you are on the outside of your profession, and that draws me to you professionally. So would you talk about some of those hobbies, how you got involved, what makes you crazy enough to swim around in what I call monster stew? That's called the ocean, ladies and gentlemen. Would you share some
Yeah.
of that with us?
Yeah. So when we moved down to Florida in 2019, it was just like a rite of
Wait, hold on.
passage.
From where?
New York,
Hold on now. See, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Coming from New York. Okay, how long were you in New York?
my whole life.
Where are you from New York?
Yeah. Born and raised.
You're not nearly mean enough to be from New York.
Well, I was from Happy Hippie, Ithaca, which is way upstate in the Finger Lakes, upstate, the Canadian side of upstate.
Okay, so look, I learned something. So this episode has been valuable to me just for me learning. Okay, entire life in New York, and
Hmm.
you come here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I graduated with my bachelor's months after moving here. And so my graduation present to myself was getting a paddleboard. I absolutely loved getting out on the water. I had started just snorkeling and that wasn't enough. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to go farther. So I got my paddleboard and that wasn't enough. I had some friends that wanted to get certified in diving. And so we went and I got my dive cert. And so now I'm an advanced diver and had the pleasure of going 100 feet under the water in Key Largo for the Spiegel dive wreck and got to swim around with some sharks in a shipwreck.
Why you
I
do
loved
that to
it.
me, ma'am? Why you do that? You know the moment you said the S word, you lost me. Heart skipping beats. I'm like, am I still here, Lord? Come on.
It's definitely an experience to see your first shark. The very first one I saw, it was a nurse shark. I'll say they're harmless. They're like bottom feeders, so they're not going to attack you, but I have it on video, my very first one, and I instantly started breathing heavier. And the faster you breathe, the more you empty your tank. And so I started elevating. Like you could see the video going like I lost sight of the shark because I just was elevating so fast.
So hold on, Erica, right there. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you to miss something that Erica said. You said you started with the scuba and then I'm
Hmm.
sorry, the snorkeling and then the paddleboard, but you wanted to go deeper.
Hmm.
In our relationship and the time that we spent, I noticed that about your personality. So once you get exposed to something good, you're saying, well, how can I go a little bit deeper? How can I understand a little bit more? How can I serve a little bit better? How has that mentality benefited you in more than just the, I'm going to say, enjoyment side of life? How has the desire to go deeper with clients, customers, prospects, with information benefited you?
I'm really relational. And so when I talk to a client for the first time, it's information gathering, but the more we get to have communication with each other and develop that relationship further, I get to know about their families, their lifestyle, their likes, wants, needs. And it's created a really great opportunity because then going forward, they refer people to me because I've taken such good care of them. And So just understanding exactly what they want, what they need, helps me to be able to provide that end piece that matches their dreams with what they're hoping for.
Okay, so you talk about going deeper with individuals, but you're also in this process where it is just continual improvement for yourself. So
Mhm.
knowing Erica better, knowing how she operates, knowing who she is, how she can serve better. What have you learned most about yourself? And I'm going to say in the past 2 years, has there been something that has just really shown up and a light bulb has hit and said, I didn't know this about myself. Now that I do, I'm better for it.
Yeah, super vulnerable. I would say that degrees don't mean you know everything. It was definitely a smack in the face moment when I decided to stop pursuing getting a job at a development firm and get into my real estate and kind of start my own process into finding my development career. I signed up for my real estate license and took the test, and I was like, this is going to be so easy because
Lord,
I have this
Lord.
degree. I was like, yeah, I have this degree. This is going to be so easy. It is nothing like what I learned in real estate with my real estate finance. I was like, oh my God, this like, what is sales? Why do I have to call people? Like, they should just be calling me because I know.
Because I know, because I'm brilliant. I mean, look at the degrees. I mean, you
Exactly,
have to come to
exactly.
me.
Yeah, so that was a big wake up moment. And so going from degree to realizing, I'm just constantly in a lifelong learning process. It was really humbling and really gave me the desire for having someone to partner with that could lead me and guide me. And so that has proven to be my most valuable point.
So talk to that person really quickly, Erica, who was you before, right? Who came into this thing. Maybe they were jaded and they were like, oh, I mean, how hard can it be? I mean, I've watched HGTV, I've watched Bravo, I have degrees. This is going to be easy. What keeps someone going from the entry through the hardship to finally get into the point where they're like, okay, it's not as easy as I thought, but I do believe that success is possible. What
Yeah.
gets them through that hardship moment?
For me, it's been my why. I have a really strong why. And without that, I would have quit 100 times ago. I definitely had seasons where it was quiet. People weren't buying at the time. I wasn't having success getting clients, but my why would just wake me up and slap me in the face and keep me going. So in those times, I would make sure to be present with my broker. I would make sure to be present with other people that were still doing the work and just kind of gleaning off a little bit of the hope of their success, knowing that like I've got to be able to figure this out. It's just not time yet. And so learning to fall into that trust of God's timing and working everything together. It was a little bit of a process, but looking back on it, there was 100 things I would have done different, but looking back, I would just say, trust and just keep going, keep going.
So, Erica, how do we fight the part of the ego and the humility, right? Because, like, when we aren't performing, when things aren't going, and when our dreams aren't the way that we saw them, how do we say, okay, well, I'm going to be humble enough to get around my broker and other producers and not be worried about the judgment? Like, what is she doing here? What is he doing here? They aren't doing production. Why are you in the office, right? So, how do we move past that fear of maybe judgment, that we embrace humility and not let that ego that's on our shoulder just talk us out of getting into those right environments?
Yeah, that's where my faith has been one of the biggest foundations of my career. There would be days where I'd be like, all right, God, I'm done. And he'd be like, no, just keep going. And it would be that encouragement and my own prayer and meditation time that I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to fail you because you're putting me in this path. And so if you believe I can do it, and I read my Bible and it says I can do all things. So
This
there's
is one
got
of
to
those
be
all
something
things,
here.
right? You'd be like,
Yeah.
well, this is no surprise to you. So this is one of those all things.
Yeah. So that's really honestly what kept me going. There was nobody that could encourage me in those days where I literally would quit on myself. And then the next morning I'd wake up and I would just make one more phone call, just do one more thing. And it all came out of that encouragement time in my personal meditation and prayer. So
Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, we're here with Erika Collins. I do want to encourage you all to seek out some type of great relationship, great community, as she just mentioned. Make sure that you lean into your faith, whatever your faith is, something bigger than yourself. And you mentioned the why. Right.
Mhm.
And I know that we hear it all the time. What's your why? Lead with why. Your why has to be big, so much so that we could almost be like, fooey. That's not a real thing, right? It doesn't really mean anything, but you mentioned a number of times that your why kept you going.
Yeah.
Um, why why did you choose the why that you have? You don't have to share what it is if you don't want to, but
Mhm.
what is it? What's so powerful about your why that keeps you going?
Yeah, without going into the whole story of it, I would say everything comes back to my passion and desire for a philanthropic mission that both my husband and I have together. It was the reason why I started college. It's the reason why I kept going on those dark days. And it's still in my heart to keep pursuing. It's one of those God sized dreams that it's going to take a whole lot of work and a whole lot of people to get it done. So it's a drive that I have that at the end of my life, I want to at least leave the earth with even a quarter of that dream accomplished. So
I can tell you right now, at the rate at which you are going, that it's going to be much more than a quarter of the lives that you've already impacted and continuing to impact, as business owner, as wife, as mom. Now, I want to go quickly. You mentioned that you're a pit bull mom.
yeah.
Now, what has being the mom of a pitty taught you?
Oof. Don't send them to the pound when they drive you absolutely crazy.
And we share this, ladies and gentlemen, because Erica and my wife, they are virtual friends as well. Wife is also a pity mom with the blue nose pit. So
hmm
this is where some of those relationships continue to strengthen and deepen. And so we're absolutely there with you,
Yeah.
Erica. And so one thing that I always talk about is the stereotype, right? So when we look at pits as a negative stereotype, you are a driven, powerful, confident wife, mom, business owner, leader. What's a stereotype that maybe you're fighting, or that you have had to say, well, maybe it's not a stereotype, maybe it's a compliment?
For myself personally?
Yes, ma'am, for you. Not for your dog, for you, ma'am. Come on.
Yeah. Well, he's a big baby, so that's his stereotype. But for me personally, I really think, with the different things that I'm involved with, sometimes just my size, or sometimes honestly just being a female can be a stereotype. Like people don't
Mhm.
think that I'm capable of XYZ. And one of the things that I've kind of adopted is my saying, it's like, I love being underestimated because I'm about to prove you wrong. And then you're going to turn back around and be like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah.
Now, I know that in the business world, you coming talking about really, we're going to look at the investment side of real estate right now.
hmm
And many investors, they don't like the beautiful, sexy all the time, right? They're thinking numbers wise. And so now you, as a woman, as a lady, female, as someone of the stature, and she's not 6'8", ladies and gentlemen, you're going to some of these investment opportunities, or you're crunching numbers, and then is sort of, okay, can we view the physical product? And we're like, yeah, there's no front door. The roof is falling down in some instances. Now, that's not all of the business, but many times I'm sure the idea is your clients can be like, okay, Erica, we're going to walk inside. You can stay out here. And you're like, what? I have to see so I can run these figures for you. Could you talk
Uh-huh.
about that side of business just a little bit?
Yeah, like I love that side. My dad was a contractor when I grew up, so I was always in the down and dirty sawdust. Like sawdust makes me smile. And so walking into these dilapidated buildings, like I love looking at that with people to help, like, let me show you what you can take this from a purchase offer standpoint all the way to like what can we get you on a ROI with rentals if you re-rent it, or to resell it, how much are you going to make and what are you going to do with it, like how much is this neighborhood worth? That kind of stuff is really energizing to me, and I love being able to provide that as a service to my clients.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I have Erica in my life, because ROI, that stuff is not energizing to me. So I'm like, Erica, you want an investor? I'm not doing this. I need the high
Yep.
energy fun stuff. And she's like, what do you mean? This is fun. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh. So talking about that part, you have schooled me and educated me a little bit in the real estate world, in the fact that many times we don't always know what we think we know. So, what's something on the investment side, if we have an investor coming, or if they're listening to this episode, and what might be one misnomer, what might be one myth that we hear or that we think we know that we don't, or some advice or insight that you might want to share with that potential investor that's listening?
Yeah. I think, well, from experience, I think when some people go into the investment side of things and they don't have a realtor who's experienced with investing, it can lead them into a trap. We've had a client in the past who bought $1 million home expecting the market to keep blasting like it was when they bought it. And now it's been sitting on the market for quite a while because they're trying to recoup their investment. Something like that could have been nipped in the bud in the short term with just a simple analysis of, what is actually happening in the market right now and where is it going to go. So that's where I love to protect my clients with that, because I feel a strong physical responsibility for them personally. And so I want to see everybody that I work with have a successful financial future. So to help people understand how to do the actual analysis properly, like I give everybody a spreadsheet breakdown of, this is the house as it is right now. This is the appreciation it's had since it was built, and the rentals in the area, the future value of the home kind of thing. So I like to help people see that. So they're seeing more than just the excitement of, this is my first investment and I'm just going to make all this money. Like, no, let's make sure it makes money, because not every house makes money.
Ouch. Ladies and gentlemen, those are not the views of Erika Collins. That's just the plain out truth. So you're going to want to make sure you have someone on your side who can guide you, can advise you. And you just mentioned that you also want to help them understand how to analyze, how to do the research. So you aren't building people who are reliant upon you. You're educating them so that they can go in and do some of the analysis themselves and then come back and have a conversation with you. So that's important as well. So Erika, we are going to have some fun here in a moment, but I want to ask you one of the questions that I ask most guests here on the podcast. What is something that you see in today's business environment that if you were going to be working with your ideal client or your elite client, what's something that you would want to make them aware of in today's world, today's business environment, that maybe they are unaware of at this time?
To understand that not everybody has a strategic purpose in their business. I didn't learn that until recently, where at first realtors are just kind of taught, yeah, you work with buyers and sellers, period. But to narrow that down and see, what buyers and sellers make you tick. Like, do you love golf? Okay, go with golfers. Like, do you love this or that? Find people in the areas that make you happy, that energize you, because that energy is going to keep propelling you to grow with those like-minded people. So I think as far as giving advice to others, other investors, choose wisely, interview your realtors, and I think, yeah.
So here's what I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen. You all heard Erika say, choose wisely, interview your realtors. All of Erika Collins' contact info, professional and social, are going to be in the show notes and the description. Make sure you click on those links so that you can learn more about Erika. This is not going to be her last time here on the Beyond the Velvet Rope podcast. I say that publicly so that she knows that she is on the hook for another episode, because we've got great things coming. Erika, can we have some fun, ma'am?
Sure.
All right, so I sent you a list of 14 to 15 questions. I think we asked one of those on the list. These are not on the list at all. Now, my
Okay.
legal department, who does not exist, has told me that you are not obligated to answer any of these questions, okay? So you ready to go, ma'am?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Your favorite color?
Purple.
Why?
It just is my favorite. Yeah, I don't know.
She was
It
like,
just is.
I don't have to explain myself to you. I said purple, man. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware, purple is also my favorite color. I love purple because it is the color of royalty in the Bible. So that's why
Yeah.
I love purple.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Anything that's done well and tastes good.
No, hold on, wait.
My
When
favorite.
you say done well, you don't mean well done. You mean
No.
proper. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
like
your favorite?
I like exploring. I like trying different cultures and different foods. My favorite though, like I don't know, I always like apples and peanut butter at the end of the day. Like
Whoa, whoa,
it's
whoa.
just a simple.
You get to eat anything. And she like, Neil, apples and peanut butter. We're gonna keep it simple, baby. And so are you just cutting the apples in slices and just either dipping it in peanut butter spread
Yeah.
and that's it?
No, you got to cut it in half, core it out, and then you spread the peanut butter all over and just
Wait,
there you
over
go.
the half? You don't
Yeah.
cut it in slices?
No, you have to
So
have it like smeared.
so you are going to be biting into half an apple with no core with peanut
Yeah.
butter just around.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, she's a wild one. So she swims with sharks. So eating a half apple with peanut butter. Okay, so quick question, like on that, like the caramel apples from the fair and stuff. Are you into those or no?
Not really. It's too sweet.
Do we have a specific type of a brand of peanut butter?
Currently, I've been eating the natural, like fresh ground from Sprouts. I know it sounds boring for anybody
Hey,
else.
the happy hippie, ladies and gentlemen. She said,
Exactly.
let's get crazy. We're gonna core this apple,
Exactly.
cut it in half, and we're just gonna
Yeah.
smear peanut butter on half the apple. We're not gonna slice the apple and put peanut butter on each slice. All right,
Nope.
I'm learning something today. Man, you make me worried, ma'am. Okay, now this one is the one that you do not have to answer if you do
Okay.
not want for sure, because I don't want us addressing you improperly.
Sure.
What is a nickname that only your family calls you?
Well, when I was yeah, I can't say that one.
Okay, woo, woo, thank you, Lord, thank you. Okay, because that's the one right there.
Yeah. Like I'd have to explain that one, and that's not going to happen.
No. Okay.
Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first on Beyond the Velvet Rope. In our 100+ episodes, this is the first pass on that question. This is the very first pass. So shout out, kudos to Miss Erika Collins for that. Okay, what is the one piece of advice that you would give yourself at 10 years old?
Ooh, yeah, at 10 years old, I would say, how do I say it? Know who you are and hang out with better friends.
So they were right. So at an early age, you choose your circle wisely. First, you choose your friends and your friends. First, you decide your friends and your friends decide your future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely.
What is one talent that you do not have that you wish you did?
I think it'd be really cool to learn architecture, like drawing, technical
Man,
drawing.
that's the nerd in you, man.
It
Listen, I'm
is.
talking about people like, I want to sing, I want to
Simple.
dance. She's like, architecture, like just this stuff right here.
Yeah, maybe playing the drums or something like that. That would be fun.
Nope. So your
No?
answer is locked in. So we're gonna have to get her some architectural classes or something, and of course that's gonna help her individually as a person. All right,
Mhm.
last question: what is one movie that if it's on, no matter how many times you've seen it, you're gonna stop and watch part of it?
I would say 2, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot or Wonder Woman.
Come on. So I thought Wonder Woman was gonna be the nickname that only your family calls you. Not even close?
I mean, on certain days. Yeah.
Okay, on certain days. Miss Erika Collins, I want to thank you for your time here today. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
No, thank you so much for this, and I look forward to the next one.
See, ladies and gentlemen, she took the bait. We have Miss Erika Collins locked in. Who knows? We might even have a guest on with you. I'm not saying that my bromance would be a great addition to the
Yeah.
Beyond the Velvet Rope
You
podcast,
would
but who
enjoy
knows?
him.
Who knows what will happen? Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you go to the show notes, follow everything that Erika is doing. She is on a meteoric rise, not only in real estate, but the impact that she is having on the world, on myself included. You all will benefit from knowing her, from getting to know her, following all of her escapades under the water, as a military spouse, as a professional, investment specialist, international real estate with the MSIRE degree. So I am excited. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got to let Erika go because we've got a closing. When I say we, I'm talking about myself. No, I'm not. Erika has a closing to get to today because that's a normal part of a real estate professional. Erika, thank you so much, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you like we always do, and that is that we love you. God loves you. There's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time we see you or you see us, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.
Bye. Thank you.